off-the-shelf Grand Operational Simulation series. The games in the Grand Operational Simulation series, or GOS, depict World War II combat mainly at the battalion level. Each game's rules are presented in two booklets. The first contains the GOS system rules common to all games in the series. Consider these the basic rule set, which is what I'm looking at here. The second is the scenario rules specific to each particular game. This contains all special rules, scenarios, and setups that pertain to that game. The rules are presented in a numbered case format with higher numbered rules within the same section, always taking precedence over lower numbered rules. Rules in the scenario booklet may modify, add to, and always supersede any rules found in the basic rule set. The game map. Each game map in the series is a graphic representation of the geographic area in which a particular game's battle occurred. The map's hex grid regulates distance and location for various game functions. Each hex has a unique identifying number printed within it. Terrain features exist both within hexes and along hex sides. The terrain key lists all of these features. The defender always chooses which terrain feature he is utilizing when defending in a hex. When moving a unit, the highest terrain cost in the hex or across a hex side is used, unless a unit is using some form of road movement. Each scenario book will cover any unique terrain for the campaign covered. The terrain effects chart for each game may not list all terrain in later games. Roads. There are three types of roads in the game: primary roads, secondary roads, and trails. The term road encompasses all three. Railroads. Some games will depict railroads on the game map. Railroads are considered trails for movement purposes. Rivers and streams. Rivers and streams are hex-side terrain features that affect movement and combat. For a more natural look, these features do not conform exactly to the hex sides. Apply their effects to the hex side that is nearest to them. There are three types of rivers that could be present. From the smallest to the largest, they are river, sometimes referred to as a minor river, major river, and great river. Streams are not considered rivers, however. However, they do affect combat and movement. In the diagram here, the dark dashes show the hex sides affected by the river. The loop is considered a single river hex side. Ignore the land inside the loop. Bridges and fords over all rivers exist only where marked on the map, while bridges over streams are implied to exist by a road crossing over the stream. Covering terrain. Covering terrain represents terrain in which units are more difficult to detect or engage. There are two kinds of covering terrains, or CT: movement CT, MCT, and observation CT, or OCT. This concept is explained fully in 8.0. Constricted terrain. Constricted terrain represents terrain in which bluffs, steep canyons, or very rugged terrain severely restricts movement. Constricted terrain is depicted by dashed lines drawn from one hex side to another in the same hex. More than one line may be in a hex. The rules governing constricted terrain are contained in the appropriate sections of the rulebook. Soft ground, marsh, and swamp. Soft ground, marsh, and swamp are special terrain types that may be combined with other types of terrain. Each game will designate whether the terrain is treated as soft ground, swamp, or marsh, and any other special rules that are applied. Unless specifically stated in the rules, the terms soft ground, marsh, or swamp is used interchangeably. Charts and tables are used as explained in the appropriate rules section. Each game in the series comes with various charts and displays. Some are standard GOS charts and displays. Others will be specific to that game. Unit type chart. The unit type chart, UTC, gives examples of every type of unit value and symbol used on the unit counters. A unit's historical ID is shown as company, battalion, regiment, or brigade if British, division designations. Sometimes a unit has a Kampfgruppe name if German, or a combat command designation if US. Independent units attached to Corps or Army use battalion IDs and Corps or Army IDs. Corps headquarters IDs are always Roman numerals. Army IDs have Army or the letter A at the end. Corps Army IDs may be depicted using Corps Army insignia in the place of the number designation. Unit Breakdown Chart. The Unit Breakdown Chart, UBC, shows how a unit may be broken down into smaller units called breakdown units or breakdown companies. Informational Markers Chart. This chart shows the informational marker counters used in the game. The use of each marker is explained in the appropriate rules section. The Ace of Spades marker is used as a step loss marker and can also be used in many other ways throughout the game. Example, the Ace of Spades may be used to designate stacks as attack eligible by placing markers on top of those stacks until the resolution of combat. Design note, the Ace of Spades or hit marker can be used to signify many different things. As long as it is agreed among the players what a marker is being used for, that is fine. Terrain Effects Chart. The Terrain Effects Chart, or TEC, summarizes, or I should say charts, summarizes the effects of terrain on movement, observation, and combat. For convenience, the TEC is depicted on the movement, ground assault tables, and fire support tables, with each table depicting the pertinent data required to show the effect of terrain on that function. Unit Replacement Table. Unit Replacement Table, URT, summarizes the number of replacements points required to replace losses and to rebuild units. Logistics Charts and Procedures. This group of charts provides the variables and process for managing the game's logistic procedures. Fire Support Charts and Procedures. This group of charts provides the variables and process for conducting all types of fire support missions. GA Charts and Procedures. This group of charts provides the variables and process for conducting ground assaults. Movement Charts and Procedures. This group of charts provides the variables and process for conducting all types of movement, including construction. Ground Assault Table. This table is printed out on a full sheet, providing the results of ground assaults and a convenient mnemonic for DRMs and combat shifts. 10-sided dice. 2 10-sided dice are provided with the game. See 1.6.0 for how the dice are used. The playing pieces. The game's cardboard pieces are called counters. Unit counters, or simply units, represent headquarters and combat units that participated in the battle. Most units are identified by historical designations found on the upper corners of the counters. Company breakdown units use generic ID numbers. The other numbers on the units represent their combat or movement capabilities. Units are color-coded by nationality, political affiliation, or branch of service. Most units are double-sided, with the reverse side showing the unit after it has suffered a step loss. The reverse side of company breakdown units may represent another unit entirely if there is no zero-step or Z-step image of the unit on this side. The front side of artillery units shows the unit in battery or ready to fire, and the reverse, it's out of battery or ready to move mode. Leader counters are also provided, one side depicting the leader in an inactive mode and the reverse representing the leader after activation. All other counters that are not units are collectively called markers. Markers are used to record or keep track of information on the game map or on off-map record tracks. Markers also keep track of any change in a unit's supply status, strength, or mode. It will be much easier to find a counter if you have a copy of the counter sheets handy to quickly ID the unit. The rounding rule. Fractional numbers will normally be rounded up to the next whole number. There may be some cases in scenario rules that require fractional numbers to be rounded to the nearest whole number, that is, any number less than 1/2 is rounded down, and any number equal to or greater than 1/2 is rounded up. When calculating the ground assault value for a GA, retain fractions for each individual unit, totaling all units participating, then round the total value up to the next whole number. Example, a stack of 2 infantry battalions and 1 engineer company is defending against a ground assault, or GA. The stack is out of supply, which causes all combat strengths to be halved. Each battalion has a printed defense strength of 5, and the engineer unit has a printed defense strength of 3. The total would be 5 divided by 2 equals 2.5, plus 5 divided by 2 equals 2.5, plus 3 divided by 2 equals 1.5 equals 6.5 rounded up to 7. Glossary and Abbreviations. Active, side, or units. The side performing the activities listed during a segment or a phase within a game turn. An active unit is a unit belonging to that side. The other side's units are inactive. Afternoon game turn, or PM. The second game turn, GT, of any given game day, GD, representing hours from noon to early evening. Air point, AP. Unit of measure used to abstractly represent the air assets available to each player's side. Ammunition depletion, or AD. Artillery units are considered ammo depleted if after conducting a barrage they fail their AD die roll check. Ammunition point, AMP. Unit of measure used in the replenishment of AD artillery units, that is ammo depleted artillery units, or to increase the ammo depletion value of an army. Ammunition point value, a basic numerical value that indicates the approximate level of ammunition supply available to an army or corps. Ammunition depletion value, ADV, the value that is used when determining if an artillery unit is ammo depleted or is able to be replenished. AT, anti-tank value, the strength of a defending unit's AT weapons against attacking armored fighting vehicles. AFV units. Armor factor, the rating of an AFV equipped unit's weapon and armor protection in battle. Armored fighting vehicle, AFV. An armor-protected vehicle usually tracked, capable of combat against the enemy at close range. All units depicting an armor silhouette contain AFVs and are either pure armor units, if they contain only AFVs, or hybrid units, if they also contain an infantry or recon symbol. Armored infantry, the term encompassing units that typically transport and sometimes fight from armored-type vehicles, that is, half-tracks, armored cars, and light armored vehicles. Armored infantry, panzer grenadier, armored engineers, and armored recon are all considered armored infantry. Army, a collection of one or more corps, attached units, or formations that may sometimes be referred to using the quadruple X unit size symbol. Artillery barrage, a fire support mission conducted by artillery units using their ability to engage an enemy target using indirect fire. Air transport point, or ATP, a type of air point that is used to deliver supply. Attachment. Units of one formation are temporarily subordinated for combat, supply, and movement to another formation. Attacker, player initiating a ground assault or fire support mission. Battalion, any unit with a battalion symbol. Battle group, the term used to define an independent subformation not currently attached to a formation. Breakdown unit, a company-sized or zero-step, Z-step unit that has been created from a larger parent unit. Brigade, a collection of units that may be used be referred to using the X unit size symbol. See subformation. Combat reserve, designated units under CR marker eligible to provide additional support to a given ground assault. Command, the chain of command that exists from headquarters to unit. The order goes from Army headquarters to Corps headquarters to formation headquarters and finally to a non-HQ unit.